before we get into this one, if you could hit that like button, subscribe if you're new, and hit that notification bell to be notified every time I upload. I'm trying to hit 350 subscribers by Christmas and we've only got a few days to go. Welcome back to Leeds Lately. Today's video is going to be an explanation on Leeds United's transfer policy for those of you who A, may not be a follower of the club, B, may not know the ins and outs, and C, may just be interested to see what sort of players we might be looking at in January to try and save our season. So the first sort of facet of the transfer policy is the age of players that we try and get in. So I've been through every signing of Bielsa's since he came in 2018. And I've been through every first team player that was signed to play in the first team. And even when we include players like Rodrigo, who was 29 when we signed him, and Kiko Casilla, who was 32 when we signed him, the average age of player brought in under Marcelo Bielsa at Leeds United is 23.7 years old. Now this shows us a clear idea and identity that Leeds want to put across, in that you buy players young before they hit their prime, so that you hope that when they do hit their prime, either they stay at Leeds and do very well for the club, or they go on to go to another club for a big transfer fee, which is a lot more than what you originally paid for them. And then we come on to the coaching potential part of this age argument, in that Bielsa is a great coach of players. Players like Stuart Dallas, Liam Cooper, Luke Ayling, all average championship players, and now very good Premier League players because of Bielsa's coaching. Now, if you get a player in before they get to their prime, they're much more malleable, much more moldable in the way that you want them to play. And so bringing those players in before their prime allows Bielsa to get his teeth stuck in and get them improved to the point where he can play exactly in their system. The second point when it comes to Leeds transfer policy is value for money. Now we've seen players like Lewis O'Brien be actually rejected because although Bielsa likes the player, the club couldn't justify putting the money out that Huddersfield were asking for because they didn't think the player was actually worth it. With the value for money argument, you've also got to look at players like Rafinha, Firpo and Koch, who are all brought in for very low fees considering the talent that they actually have. First, if we look at Rafinha, he came in from Rennes for £17 million and now has made his value upwards of £75–80 million, given that he's now a proven Premier League talent and a goal scorer. Then you've got Koch, who came from Germany, a German international. £13 million is not bad for a Premier League standard player. Junior Firpo from Barcelona, £13 million. And that's where you've got to sort of think about being a little bit prudent, being a little bit smart, and basically look into vulnerable clubs essentially. So when we look at the French market after COVID, a lot of those clubs were struggling for money, so you could get players at a good price. Barcelona, obviously everybody knows, it's well publicised that they're in a massive amount of debt and financial difficulty. So a player like Junior Firpo, for us to take them off their hands, any money that they can get in is essential for them really. So it's always good to look at teams and clubs who are actually struggling a little bit financially, because you are likely to get quite a good deal. The third point is how they fit the style of play. Now, we've been linked with Dele Alli, and I don't think it's going to happen. I think it's just newspaper talk because of these things that I'm about to talk about now. Dele Alli does not fit Leeds' style of play. He doesn't work hard enough, and he's also not fit enough, I wouldn't say. A player like Dele Alli coming in would take ages to get up to speed in terms of the fitness that Bielsa wanted him at. Then you look at somebody like Dan James, who's Bielsa's liked for a while, and the reason that he's liked him is because he leads the press, and he's so lightning quick that he actually puts teams under a lot of pressure. We saw it against Watford and we saw it against Norwich. The actual pressure that he was putting their defence under and making them panic was a real big asset to us, and was why we really won both of those games. You make them make mistakes, you make them give corners away, free kicks, and then you get their chances in the box then. So players like Dan James is a perfect example of, yes, this time we may have paid a little bit more, going back to the last point, value for money, we may have paid a little bit more, but they're also able to sort of be a little bit flexible with that if they think it's really going to help the system and the way we play. Another example of that is Junior Firpo, who we talked about in the last section, value for money. He's sort of coming into his own now and getting a little bit better game by game, and he's brought in to underlap the winger and basically attack as as being an extra man in the attack every time we go forward. And you wouldn't have got that from a player like Danny Rose, for example, at Watford. He's not the sort of player that would have gone forward and helped with the attack as much as a Junior Firpo would. The third point, and quite a short point really, is that Bielsa has said multiple times in interviews that a player he brings in has to be better than what he's already got. Now, this is the point in which I think he could be a little bit more flexible and that he needs to bend on a little bit more, because a player, any player, is better than an injured player who can't play. So say if you wanted to bring somebody in for Rodrigo, we're talking about John Swift at the moment, top of the championship for assists. Somebody like him, he's not a better player than Rodrigo Moreno, who's been a Spain international, has played Champions League football. He's not a better player, but he's a better player than an injured Rodrigo Moreno. And he's somebody that then could deputise for him when he comes off the bench. When Rodrigo is playing and Rodrigo needs a rest, then you bring on John Swift. It's the sort of signing that we can make. And also, they're in a fairly bad financial situation and he's out of contract in the summer, so I'm actually going to do a video on him before the January transfer window starts, so look out for that on the channel. And then the final point is the investment in the under-23s. With players like Somerville, Gelhardt, Greenwood and Lewis Bate, we're starting to see a proper philosophy of bringing in young under-23 talent in the hope that they'll A, rise to the first team and be a very good first team asset for the club, or B, exponentially rise in value. All these players have been signed for around £1 million, £1.5 million, and if they then go on to be first team players, which a lot of them are having to step in at the moment due to injuries, if they then go on to be good first team players, the markup in terms of value for money is ridiculous that you could make on these players. So that shows to me, and it's very promising, because we've not had that in the last God knows how many years under Cellino, GFH, Bates. We haven't had investment into the youth academy and into the under-23s team, and it shows a clear way forward and a clear strategy when it comes to transfers and bringing players in and bringing up young players through the ranks. So that is very promising, and the under-23s investment is something that definitely, like I say, shows that we're going in the right direction. So that's the transfer policy from Leeds United's point of view explained. We've gone through the average age of the transfers that are coming in, young. Value for money, it's got to be worth it for the club. They've got to not having to pay over the odds for a player. Number 3, they've got to fit the system and work pretty quickly with the way Bielsa wants to play. Number 4, Bielsa likes to have players that are actually better than what he's already got. But like I've said about that, any player is better than an injured player, so he may have to be flexible this January. And then number 5 is that under-23s investment is massive for keeping the club going and keeping us a fresh supply of first team players. So yeah, that's been Leeds United's transfer policy explained. Thanks for watching this one. Like I said at the beginning, subscribe if you're new, trying to hit 350 subscribers by Christmas, and hit that notification bell to be notified when I upload that John Swift video in the future. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.